All right, so this week we are talking about crash scene photography. Now, do note that we talk about crashes, not accidents. That's kind of one of those little terminology things in forensic science that's very important. An accident is an unintentional thing, and a crash is something that could be intentional. So, if we're going to charge somebody with homicide by reckless driving or homicide by intoxicated driving, we really can't call things crashes. Accidents. We have to call it a crash. So that's just one of those terminology things to start getting in your mindset. All right, so crash scene reconstruction, good photography. This here is visual storytelling. What happened? If these are all your photographs in tight, you're not going to do a good job. We need to get some of these overall shots. Now, of course, we do have important things showing up in our image here, the ambulance and the firefighters, but without the skid marks, without showing the whole scene, this picture doesn't have a whole lot of context. How'd the car get there? How'd this happen? Where are we at? It's getting these photographs of the tire tracks going through the dirt, going off the road, that gets us to this image. So basically when we start talking about crashes, we need to cover everything, the overall mid-range close-up, and then we get into the idea of specific vehicle events, marks from one vehicle to the other. So when two vehicles crash and they leave paint transfer, we want to get images of those paint transfers so we can show where the impact points or impact areas could have been. Also, if we have other things, gouges in the highway, marks on traffic signs, marks on fire hydrants, marks on the curb, whatever came into contact, if the vehicle rolls over and goes off into the ditch, the gouges in the dirt, the gouges out of trees, any of that stuff becomes stuff that we want to get. Paint transfers, lamp filaments, whether headlights are on or off. We talked about trace evidence back in the intro to forensic science class, and we talked about hot shock and cold shock, getting into that. When there are people who are injured or dead, we want their injuries to be documented. We want documentation of the treads of the tires, what the wheels will look like. And also we need to get good documentation of the vehicle's ID, the license plate, the VIN number. Double check and make sure that we have the proper VIN number on the vehicle. So not just the VIN number up there on the windshield by the driver's side windshield wipers, but also going and opening up the door on the driver's side and looking for any indicators of the VIN number stamped in there or on a sticker in there. Getting those things covered well, make sure that we identify which vehicles we have. So thinking about storytelling, we're going to document all of our tire tracks. We're going to document all of our damage to materials, so showing the path of the vehicle, the debris and the roadway, and then also finding out where our eyewitnesses were standing and get a picture from there. Where exactly were you standing? I was standing here. So what did you see? Well, I was looking this way. Well, stand right about there. Get yourself at that same height and snag a photo. You won't believe how many times crash scene investigators will tell you the story of the fact that this witness tells them all kinds of information about, that person, they ran the red light and yada, 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 they're at fault. And then the investigator says, well, where exactly were you standing? And they get there and I was looking this way, and they take a photo and they realize as they're looking at the photos, wait a second, where this person was standing, they couldn't see the traffic light, which means when they're sitting there saying, yeah, that guy ran the red light, they didn't see that. They are trying to be helpful to us and give us information. And then we go back and we do additional interviews with them, and we realize, well, they didn't see the crash. They heard the crash, they turned around, they looked, they saw the vehicles in the resting point, they walked up to the road, and they heard somebody make some comment, he must have ran the red light, and next thing you know, these stories come into somebody's mind. So we want to get those things locked into place so we can actually show whether or not our witness actually could have seen what they saw. And that helps us then in court. If they did actually see what they saw, the defense is going to try and show that it's not possible that they saw what they saw. And we can have the images that say, yep, no, look, my guy's about 5'10", and the camera was set so it would be about a 5'10" guy, and look at going that way. He can see what we think happened. So our minimum coverage of the vehicles, it's just overall mid-range close-ups of all the objects. But the vehicles, we need to do some additional coverage of the vehicle itself. So we need to do a good 360 of the vehicle. And with that, we have to start with kind of coming across at an angle. And, Tim Austin might teach a slightly different version of this. That's okay when you take that crash investigation class. There's a couple different ways of doing this, and I don't remember which one he teaches per se. But what you want to do is usually start at the driver's front quarter panel and looking across the vehicle. There are some other coverage ways of doing it, but this is one that I learned, and so this is the way I always teach. So we start at the front driver's quarter panel. We're looking across so we can see the front of the vehicle. We can see it down the driver's side of the vehicle. Notice I'm not saying left and right side of the vehicle. I'm talking about driver's side, passenger side. So driver's side front quarter panel, we're looking across that. We're looking across the front end of the vehicle and down the length of the vehicle. Then we move over so that we're looking down the length of the vehicle, or looking at the length of the vehicle, and we're looking basically down the front grille. Then we're going to move to the other end of the vehicle. Again, we're going to be looking down the length, or at the length of the vehicle, and going to be looking down the tail of the vehicle. We're going to have the driver's side rear quarter panel where we can see the full tail of the vehicle, and we're also seeing the full length of the vehicle. Then we're going to be looking straight at the tail of the vehicle. Passenger side quarter panel, again looking straight on at the passenger side of the vehicle where we can see down the length of the tail, getting here at the front, doing a 360 now, getting into the front grille. We're going to do this same rotation high, and we're going to do the same rotation low. So we're going to get up high above it, get down low. Now there are some other images we might want to take if we have large damage to the vehicle, where you have a major intrusion. You might want to actually get up where you're right up against the front bumper, and you're going to be looking straight down the length of the vehicle so you can actually show that intrusion into the vehicle. We might actually get over the top of the vehicle looking down, and so we can see that intrusion of the vehicle. So if a vehicle gets slammed into the side, a T-bone type crash, we'd be gathering additional coverage. This is our minimum coverage. Notice, minimum coverage. These are the pictures that get you a C. You need more photos than this to get yourself a B or an A. Think about that if you're going to equate, the level of coverage you have with your jury's expectations. So we get a good 360 of the vehicle. So overall, mid-range close-up of every object out there. The vehicle itself gets a good coverage. And that clockwise sequence, otherwise we can do counterclockwise, whatever, it doesn't matter. But take and do some good systematic sequencing of a 360 around that vehicle. Now, anytime you have a problem, you've got some kind of root cause. So, whether we've got a stop sign that was obscured, get any of these kinds of things. You've got a weird corner where you've got it's hard to see. Get down the road and snag a photo of that corner and show that it's hard to see as you're coming around this corner. We had a corner in town that had a building that was sitting on it poorly, where old building codes that they allowed this business to have their building right up to the edge of the corner of the intersection, right up against the sidewalk. And from where you sat at the stop sign, you couldn't see traffic coming from the one side. And we ended up having to change some engineering there where people weren't allowed to make left turns at that intersection. They could only make right turns because as they sat there, they could not see traffic coming from over here to make a left turn to go north. And so we just made it, no left turns from this intersection. You got to make a right turn. One-way street changes too have come about because of visual obstructions in some of our downtown areas where, again, buildings are right up to the sidewalk. So don't always assume, though, that it's the obvious cause. We always have crashes at this intersection because of this building sitting here. And, then we have some different change going on in a crash. So make sure that we're always getting good coverage of this crash, of what's going on. Because you might find that you have something interesting happening based on, driver factors of how tall the person is or how short the person is, what their ability to view out their dashboard is. Sometimes we crawl right into the car and snag photos to show what the drivers could have seen. If their car is too damaged, then we'll have to get an exemplar car from a dealership and get a photo sitting in the seat, getting the seat positioned approximately where that driver was, and get shots looking out. What could my driver have seen? What could they not have seen? Tim Austin covers this just really great in the crash investigation course. When you guys get that next semester or the semester after, whatever you take it, just some of the amazing depth that they go to as in some of these crashes is great. Now, something to think about if you're going to be out at car crashes. Having a go kit is something we always talk about in the world of criminal justice and the world of forensic science. Our go kits are something that we always have stocked and ready. So obviously, cameras and memory cards and batteries are a big thing. Don't forget traffic vests and traffic cones. You are going to be out in the road taking car crash photos. Don't assume the fire department and police department are going to have everything shut down so you can be safely standing out in the middle of the road. That's not always the case. They might have everything shut down here in this small little sphere of influence where, we are dealing with a car crash right here, but there might be skid marks down over here. And, the crash might have started 100 yards away from the impact point. And so, the first arriving officers set up a perimeter that is like 50 to 75 yards, and you've got skid marks 100 yards past. So you might have to be back there taking photographs, so get your traffic safety vest on. A very wise state trooper one time told me the difference between a traffic safety vest and not having it starts at $50,000, meaning somebody hits you. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but somebody hits you and you're wearing that traffic safety vest when you're out there investigating a crash. Their insurance company is going to come at you right away saying, please take this money and shut up and go away. Don't sue us. So, wear that traffic safety vest. It's ugly. You look silly in it, but you know what? I'd rather be ugly and looking silly in a vest and still have my legs and be able to walk home tonight than get hit by a car. Traffic cones, you want to have these things. When you're out there, don't assume because you're wearing your vest that people are going to stay away from you. Throw some cones out there. Folks don't like hitting those, Even though they won't cause damage to cars, people don't like hitting them. Tripods, flash lights, plural, multiple lights. We did painting with light last week. A lot of car crashes happen at night. Some of you, saw that the use of a flashlight for that painting with light assignment was pretty good. Different kinds of flags and tents and tags, all the accoutrements that you need for processing a crime scene as it relates to noting evidence. A lot of times at crash scenes, you have skid marks and stuff, so being able to make a line with chalk or put a little photo tent, those little yellows with the number 1 on them, being able to set there at the ground and show where the skid mark starts and show where it ends is very important, because sometimes skid marks, especially with our modern ABS brakes, they're not what they used to be, and they're not as easy to show in a photograph. So being able to mark things down and show the length of that skid mark with chalk or otherwise spray paint becomes very important. So make sure these kinds of things are in your go kit as it relates to crime scenes, because we think about crime scenes as the homicides and the kidnappings and those high order crime scenes, but we spend a lot of time at car crashes too. And I've got more than a fair share of people who I've put in prison for drunk driving related homicides than intentional gunning somebody else down homicides. That's just kind of a reality of where you work sometimes, where we're not having people murdered every day, but we do have people die in car crashes every day, and somebody's still guilty and somebody's still potentially at fault. That they're not always accidents. They are the reason why we're using that term crash. All right, some other documentation. So we can download the black boxes on those cars these days. So document showing that the fact that you're hooking up, and we actually have to provide power to the vehicle. So we have our own portable battery pack that we're powering up the black box in the car, and we're connecting up to the black box in the car. Show this. That. Don't forget our crime scene sketches. Crime scene sketches are very important, and basically the reason I'm bringing this up is the fact that with a good crime scene sketches, if it's in your sketch, it better have a photograph of it, and a couple of them. So the crime scene sketch helps you with your photography. The other thing the crime scene sketch helps us with is from time to time, there are things that aren't readily seen as important at car crashes. When we start looking at the big picture of the crash, we realize that something else was important, and we need a measurement on it. We actually have a system called photogrammetry that is able to get measurements, extract measurements out of a photograph if we know the scale of other items in the photograph. So if I know how wide a road is, if I know something that we've measured and I've got diagrammed out, I could actually snag a measurement if we forgot to get a measurement of where something is from some other part of this crime scene or this crash scene. We can actually go back and get that measurement later on. Doesn't give you the ability to be lazy as an investigator. Photogrammetry is a very specialized skill. Not everybody understands it very well. Not everybody uses it. But if you have the need for it later on, if you've got good sketches and stuff, especially at crash scenes, we can do that. All right, I am getting down to where I only have a few seconds left of record time on the system. If anybody has any questions, as always, give me a call, shoot me an email, stop in and see me at the Public Safety Training Center. Otherwise, I will see you next week, and have fun with your photographic assignment this week of setting up a mock car crash. All right, catch you later. Bye.